Yeah. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Thank you everybody for coming. And at this time, we'll do a land acknowledgement.
The Fundy Regional Service Commission would like to acknowledge, honor, and pay respect to the land of which it gathers and operates. The FRSC operates on the traditional unceded territory of the Wolastoqey, Mi'kmaq, and Passamaquoddy. This territory is covered by the Treaties of Peace and Friendship, which the Maliseet, Mi'kmaq, and Passamaquoddy people first signed with the British Crown in 1726. The treaties did not deal with the surrender of lands and resources, but recognized Mi'kmaq and Maliseet title and established the rules of what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. The FRSC is committed to creating a new standard by developing meaningful nation-to-nation partnership that strengthens and honors all its relations.
Thank you, Phil. You passed. All right, moving forward. We would ask for a record of attendance.
All are present except for Director Dreyer.
So let's do noted. I'd entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda as presented.
If I may, there's going to be an
Yeah.
addition of 3 items from closed session. That will include the conflict of interest disclosure, the special project agreement, and the YSJ nominations.
Okay.
moved.
Moved by Libby, second by Nancy. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of August 28th.
Could I-
Moved by John, second by Nancy.
There's just one little change on page 9 of 91, or page 5 of the minutes, with the addition of deliver recommendations on alternatives to financing of regional facilities capital. That was already in. The motion was to move it to the critical list, which was done, but, or whatever we're calling the critical list, Phil. I forget what you called it, but the important list.
The more important.
Yeah, so,
I have a recording of it. I will review the recording and edit as
Yeah.
it.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So it was moved by John, second by Nancy. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Thank you. Anybody at any time through this meeting has a conflict of interest, please remove yourself from the room, and we will bring you back in after it is dealt with. Right now, we have CEO verbal update.
There is no CEO verbal update. There is a correspondence in the back that shares the correspondence I've shared with the board over the month.
Perfect. Thank you. We have some consent items there. Does anybody want to move all 3 of them?
I'll move the consent agenda.
Second?
Moved by John, second by Libby.
Yes.
Second by Libby. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded?
Question.
Oh, question on the motion, sorry.
Under the financial statements, when I look down at the electrical generation revenue, it says that it's due to the weather conditions. My experience on the natural gas or the landfill gas is that when you have wet conditions, the wet water entraps the gas from coming to the surface. Well, this year we've been extremely dry, so I question what the weather has got to do with electrical generation.
Yeah, a technical question that is beyond my skill set. So we do have the general manager of landfill operations here. So
Let's talk gas.
Hey Jim, how are you? Sorry, the questions on gas production.
yeah, is it
With
the weather?
with the weather.
Yeah.
So the biggest issue, thank you for the question. The biggest issue we had this year was the spring. So when we came out of thaw and we went into the spring, we had a huge amount of rain go into the system. And as you guys are aware, we're quite open. And so we had the biggest project for capping that we've had ever at the landfill. So we did the temporary cap on the southern slope of 8, and we did the eastern cap on the slope of 8, the permanent eastern cap on the slope of 8. The issue is, and again, we weren't expecting it, the issue is that we're getting about 125 cubic feet per minute out of the landfill as of right now, and basically it's consistent throughout the summer. When we had the dry spell this summer, we were still trucking 6 loads a day out of the landfill, so it's still wet. So despite all the summer hot weather, the garbage was still saturated from the spring, and we weren't getting flows. Now,
Are you dewatering?
on a good note, perfect, thank you, lead right into my next statement. On a good note is those 9 solar pumps have been put in, and they are actively dewatering, and that project is complete. And so what we're hoping to see now is we're hoping to see better flows. And in November, Tetra Tech, the contracting gas company, Tetra Tech will now be coming down to balance the field against that pumping action to see if we can get better, production, especially with the extra capping. But like it's not a production facility. We can't manipulate the landfill. We just go by what nature gives us, and we know it is what it is. It's saturated, but we are pumping out the water. We do have a guy coming in to balance the field, but that's kind of where we're at. And just in the sense of that, you would have seen this in the budgetary process. The one issue that we do have is that we're just not seeing the gas production. We're taking out, 8,000 tons of fuel into the compost program, right? So the amount of organics in there just doesn't seem to be producing to the level that a normal landfill would have, or somewhere with less effective composting or organics programs. So, but hopefully with the balancing of the field, that will come along. But in the budget process, we have put in that we have because the generator is on its last legs, and we have that landfill gas utilization study, and based on the recommendation and conversation with them, they're recommending that we run flare only. And so the budget reflects that for next year.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay?
Very good.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so that's the, yeah. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Got where it was. That was on the question. Yeah, okay, reports. 2026 budget update?
Through the chair to members of the board, this will be quick. This is really just a summary. We've initiated the 45-day review. This is an opportunity to reflect on what we've heard so far. I'll give you a quick summary of that as a synopsis of what's in the report. Essentially, I would say about 90% of the budget, there's pretty strong agreement that it sounds like we're in the right direction. Unfortunately for the regional facilities capital, that remains a pretty strong sticking point across each council in conversations that I've been privy to over the last 20 to 25 days. There has been some really positive feedback that the regional strategy update and the work plan helps equip us to what's to come. I think that's been a positive piece. I think one of the things that you hear at the local governments, this is preaching to the converted or to the choir, evidently is that this is going to be a difficult budget year for every council in 2026. And the FRSC budget should respond to that, should be consistent and in line with that. I think showing a reduction in the budget was a strong starting point. I think that really helps. If there was anything less than that, I think we would have had a more difficult time building connections across the region. We did receive some questions, and I've shared this with the general manager of the landfill around diversion, the continued importance of driving diversion in our solid waste services. We did receive specific questions related to the Aquatic Center Enhancement Project. There's evidently two big fears. One is that we are unsuccessful at achieving the access to 73.3% funding. And then the second is that the cost will balloon higher than what's currently projected. So there's a lot of preparing the broader landscape of the funding region about what would happen in those scenarios. And just to make sure you're aware, I'm sharing that I don't think there is much appetite to pay anything more than what that is. 73% of 25 million has to be supported by the province, and if the costs go higher, I think we don't have much of a deal to provide. So I think that's important for councils to know that there are some major conditions associated with this partnership. One other thing that I do believe has helped a lot with this budget, and I want to thank staff for helping to assemble this and leading that charge, is the service-based budgets. And you will note that part of the update includes this, and I'll share it right away. We've included the updated versions now, and we're all just learning as we go, are we not? So we put out a first template and we've added more information. One thing is that we've included economic development, tourism promotion, and our planning service. So those are new profiles. We've also included the full cost, not just the net cost. So you just have the big number of what the actual service costs, and then how much it costs our members. And then the last thing, in the back of each page, we've included basically a summary of what's the evolution of this service. How long has it been around? What have we done? And that's all in one page as well. And it really is sort of a one-stop shop for explaining FRSC services. And I think it will help us in the future to develop budgets and also provide ownership towards our members around what the budget is trying to achieve. We did receive quite a bit of questions around the new funding formula for economic development and tourism promotion, that it's moving from a fixed rate to a rate that's premised on your proportion of tax base. So that's been received as well. The other things that is in this report on an update of the budget is we did receive requests on overall salary ranges of employees, and we felt that there was a fair question. We discovered that it was not published on our website and it was not available, so we're sharing with you in open session now what that is. We'll share this information with the correspondence we received from the council level, and it just breaks down at a starting salary of over $60,000 how our employees fall into the different ranges of our management professional staff.
So that's all you're posting is the range, right?
Just the range, yeah, and which is consistent with what we understand is the local government standard. So, good. We learn new things where you want to be transparent. It's what we strive for, and this was a great question that came up, and we agreed that it was important to share, and it's important to share with you if we're going to share it with anybody else. So that's really it for budget update for this October 2nd meeting.
If there are any comments or questions to
Who's
Phil,
recommending?
we would accept the motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Moved by Jim, second by Nancy. Question on this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Thank you. Regional Summit presentation.
Okay, we're going to do this fast and exciting. We're going to do a regional summit again this year. We surveyed membership on this last year. First, there is no perfect time to host this. Elected officials are very busy, and there's no right answer. Some work in the day, some prefer meeting in the day, some prefer meeting in the weekend, some hate meeting in the weekend. So we surveyed, and we've done a little tweak. We're going to try this year from a 3 to 8. So last year we did it essentially in the morning until late afternoon. We're going to try to do this towards the end of the day, and so far we've gotten some responses. We've sent a save the date. We've got a lot of members across the region who have agreed to that time. And we'll be at the St. John Trading Convention Center. If we go to the next slide, Cassie, the one thing that we wanted to share is that we also just collected feedback from the last session, and we want to improve upon it. One of the things we discovered is the most useful, the moment that people were the happiest were the interactive sessions, the workshops. So we're placing a little bit more weight on those workshops. The other piece that we received is it would have been nice to have a little bit more of that informal space for counselors across the region to interact. So as you know, you try to keep things too tight. There's none of that natural interaction time. So we're going to try to give a little bit more time with that. We will obviously use the opportunity to celebrate the successes of our region. At this stage, we do not have, go to the next slide, we do not have a, and to the next slide as well. We do not have a guest speaker outside of the province participating. We would envision either having Premier Holt or Minister Kennedy provide some form of address to the region. If you do have ideas of speakers that you think are really important for our region to hear and see, please let us know. But at this stage, if we don't, one's not coming to mind right away, we don't want to force something to our membership. The other thing that I want to acknowledge as well is there's a potential component to this which is unknown. The province has just announced the consultants for the FRSC review, and one of the things we've mentioned to the province is if you've got everybody there, could this be an occasion to have a conversation about where do RSCs need to go? And would this be an ideal situation? I also don't want it to monopolize the whole time. It could really derail the whole meeting if that's the only focus, but perhaps that is something we could do. So I wanted to identify that that's the piece. Ultimately, the engagement session that we want to have is one around these mandates that we have in the now approved work plan. How do you want to see that personified in your community? What are the things that you'd like to see come out of that? Working through the committees and getting a larger group of individuals thinking about that. So it's really around, working within the confines of our regional strategy and our work plan for 2026. How would we like to see that implemented and executed? Same group of invitees as last year. The one thing that we did here is perhaps a little bit more on the senior staff could be useful as well. Last year I think we said a CAO and a member of the staff, but now we're looking for a little bit more. So that might help as well to bring some of that next layer of senior staff from your communities. Go to the next slide. We still think that we'll get 60 to 75 participants. We will have a reception and dinner, which will be less formal, and we think that will likely attract more to that particular component. So we're shooting for about the same amount as last year. We'll see if the time difference increases our numbers, which is what we hope. And I think that's all that I really wanted to share with you about what's happening with the summit. This is a receive and file.
Entertain a motion. Any questions or comments?
Move the recommendation.
Moved by John, second by Brittany. Question on this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Standing items. Vision St.
Daniel will be, but you pass it to me. Okay. Daniel, please come up. We have a presentation on the new immigration strategy. This was presented to the community development portfolio. You might ask, why is that it? In the province's mandate to regional on community development, one of it was recruitment and retention.
I have to do it.
Yeah, Daniel, probably best to sit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It is Vision St. John that delivers for the FRSC this mandate through community development of newcomer support and services. They don't do all of it themselves, but they certainly coordinate it. We didn't want to duplicate. So part of this, the vision of having them here today is to make sure you're aware of how they're moving towards this. I know some of you are a little bit familiar with this. We're a little bit tight on time, Daniel, so we're looking for a 10-minute presentation if that works for you. And
Yep.
Really happy to have you here today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I think I know most of you guys are on the table. For those who don't know me, I'm Daniel Rito. I'm the Director of Population Growth and Workforce Development for Vision St. John. And today I want to talk a little bit more about our immigration strategy. I saw some of you guys attended the public launch, and I also have the one-pagers if you guys want to pass them around. Okay, so like the immigration strategy, the regional immigration strategy was developed on the base that immigration is vital to the vibrancy and sustainability of our community. It's our overall economic resilience, and especially in turbulent times. And we know that immigration is key for the continued development of our workforce, particularly from our demographic challenges that we have in the region. Why now? Next one. That's okay. Why now? As you guys might know, the City of St. John did launch an immigration strategy back in 2022, and in that immigration strategy was called to do a reassessment following municipal reform and was called to be regionalized. So when we did this exercise, we also realized that the data that was collected for that immigration strategy was mainly collected during 2019 and 2020, which was before the pandemic, which resulted that is a completely change of the landscape right now. And then the other big change, the other two big changes that we have seen is, number one, the federal government has did a big reimagining of the immigration numbers, and that affected how that is affecting our communities. And we also have seen growing anti-immigrant sentiment in our communities. The last piece of the puzzle was that Envision St. John, as of April 1st of this year, is a new contract holder with the federal government for the St. John Local Immigration Partnership, and in that contract, it is asked for the community to have a plan on immigration. So this it is a region-wide roadmap built not only to attract but also to integrate and retain newcomers. We want to also foster a kind of systemic change that will help us achieve sustainable regional growth. And it was built with four key principles: inclusivity, collaboration, data-driven, and iteration. And so how this plan was built: first, they did a big review on documentation that was available, including the City of St. John immigration strategy, including other reports generated by the province, by the federal government. Then the other piece, then it was, we did some analysis, and that was engaging ecosystem members in one-on-one interviews, community consultations. There was a public survey. There was interviews with municipal staff from each municipality. There was interviews with emigrated newcomers, people who came to the region but left, to understand why they left. So all of that was part of like the analyze step. And then we went into a rethink step where we met with the same ecosystem partners, we presented the information, and we came up with the plan. So right now, that is in the delivery stage, is what we call in the transform stage, where now we have a plan and we want to move forward and transform our ecosystem. The next two slides is we did have a steering committee that had representation from the Fondi Regional Service Commission, but also from the main partners in this ecosystem, including private sector and public sector. And through the consultations, we have over 30 plus different organizations that were part of the process in one way or another. So what we heard through these consultations was that we need to deepen engagement to be truly welcoming. So that's the first part of community and sense of belonging. We also know that there is systemic gaps in newcomer integration and support services. As I mentioned, there is persistent racism and discrimination and growing in our community. There are some challenging access to housing and infrastructure, including transit and other kinds of infrastructure. We do have weak pathways to employment, and there are some gaps in the youth and family retention. And all of this is also highlighted by an inefficient or lacking of system coordination. So the vision for the document is that it's a St. John region that welcomes newcomers, supports their dreams, and champions inclusivity. Last week I was in Charlottetown for an immigration summit, a regional Atlantic, and when they were talking about like what would an Atlantic region vision be, they mimic our vision. So I think we are on the right track, that we want to, through the collaboration and open communication, drive that change, foster diversity, and create welcoming, equitable communities with sustainable solutions for newcomers. So the plan has 3 pillars: welcoming and inclusive communities, economic and educational opportunities for all, and coordinated support and advocacy. And each pillar has objectives, results, measures, initiatives, and actions. And in the 1 pages that I passed around in the circle, you can see that each pillar and then how that goes into the measures and initiatives. I'm going to talk about the high-level objectives just to respect time and go through it and make the most use of the time. So the first one is the coordinated support and advocacy. And what the 3 objectives is the immigration ecosystem shares a single source of truth. And that means that doesn't matter where the newcomer enters our community, they always receive the same information and everyone knows what's happening around. That would lead a strong ecosystem that fosters collaboration and communication. And there's going to be greater coordination, especially around challenging systemic racism. The second pillar is welcoming and inclusive communities. And one of the key things that we saw is that we have received more Francophone newcomers, and we are aiming to receive more because that's one strategic lane that the federal and provincial government has set up as an attraction piece. So we want that the ecosystem has consistent and high quality use of both official languages to bridge linguistic divides. And that doesn't mean that we have all the same services in English as we have in French, but at least that they all know what's happening and that the newcomer, if it's a Francophone newcomer, no matter where they enter, they are pointing in the right direction. We also want to bridge the cultural divide between long-term residents and newcomers to foster mutual understanding, respect, and community cohesion. And this is also to combat that anti-immigrant sentiment that we've seen on the rise. The last pillar is the economic pillar. It's called Economic and Educational Opportunities for All. And the first objective is for small and medium enterprises to understand the value of hiring newcomers and support their inclusion. We've seen that over the last few years, the large employers and the big, they know what to do, they know how they do it, but we've seen the gap in the SMEs world. They don't know how to, some of them don't know how to engage newcomers in the workforce, and if we are seeing that 7 out of 10 newcomers coming to the region are at workforce age, they need to react to this reality. The second part is more related to collaboration on bridging the skills gap with industry partners and with the post-secondary education institutions. So we are trying to ease that supply and demand and ease that piece of attracting the right talent to our community. So through these pillars, we have these 7 expected results where we want to have a strong and interconnected ecosystem that fosters collaboration and communication, a shared database of information that serves as that single source of truth. As I mentioned, that SMEs understand the value of hiring newcomers and maintain employment pathways to support their inclusion, that industry and ecosystem partners collaborate to develop programs and services to bridge the skills gap, that the ecosystem consistently uses high quality communications in French and English, that the cultural divide between residents and newcomers is bridged, creating mutual understanding, respect, and community cohesion. And finally, that the ecosystem and larger community work together to challenge and reduce instances of systemic racism. All of these will be delivered through the St. John Local Immigration Partnership, which is a grassroots initiative. It's going on its 8th year. It started being hosted by the Human Development Council, and then was hosted by the City of St. John, and now it's hosted by us, by Envision St. John, and we're on the process of regionalizing it, so making sure that not just is focused on the city, and although we know that 90% of newcomers arrive to the city, we know that the outlier communities are getting more and more newcomers, and how can we support them? And yes, so that's it of my presentation.
Very good, thank you, Daniel. Any comments or questions to Daniel on this presentation?
Thank you, Daniel. I certainly appreciate the report, and I think it's very important for us to have a plan, which obviously you have. One of the things that I'm wondering, as a former educator, wondering what you were doing or what Envision is doing to help complement the education system, because I know with the reduction of or the limitation of newcomers coming to Canada, one of the reasons was because we don't have the infrastructure. And that has impacted NBCC, and it has impacted our universities throughout Canada and so forth. Locally, however, I know that many of the schools are bursting at the seams. What are we doing to attract, from Envision's point of view, I know from the medical point of view that they're doing lots to try and attract doctors. What are we doing to attract dentists? So that we have that infrastructure in place, rather than have a problem and then try to solve it. Can we work, on education, medical doctors and dentists and so forth, to have those things in place? I don't know what strategies you are employing, but I'm just wondering if that's on the radar.
Yeah, it is on the radar. We have worked with the Anglophone School District to support their recruitment efforts. We have developed assets with them to make the region more appealable for people when they go out of the region to recruit folks. We know that one of the main sources of staff for the Francophone School District is newcomers, and that's something that we noticed that we haven't engaged yet, but we want to engage. So this is why part of the plan of why we need to work closely with the Francophone ecosystem to supporting these kind of challenges. And we know that it's not just for the Francophone School Board, we know also that the Anglophone School Board needs Francophone teachers. So at this point, it's part of the plan to engage with those regional partners to support them in this talent attraction piece.
And, yeah, thank you. I think that's really important, because I have heard that Samuel de Champlain is bursting at the seams.
Yeah.
Well, they're beyond bursting at the seams, to the tune of many, many, many portables and so forth. I think there are 175 kids over population, I think.
Yeah, and like what we have recognized too is that our CAF has the same sometimes challenges because they're not being outside of the Francophone majority region, they're not taking into consideration. So how can we support them to amplify their efforts for that community to keep growing? Like we cannot say we want to attract Francophones if we don't even have a school for them.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we work closer together with the CAF, with the school district, with other agents in that ecosystem to support their efforts?
Thank you. Those are the three things: education, medicine, and dental. And I think if we have those things in place, we can attract more people who we can, provide employment opportunities for in various areas. Thank you.
Okay. John, do you have something, did you?
Well, I was just gonna say that basically the same thing, like healthcare, housing, education. I mean, Samuel de Champlain has got a lot of, but so does Prince Elizabeth. Like most schools have portable classrooms. The West St. John New School was overcrowded before it opened its doors. So these are things that we really need to focus on. We need the immigration, there's no question about that, but we have to have these services in place. Anyway, I'd like to say, local immigration partnership, I think has done a great job over the last 8 years.
Just maybe make a comment and just ask you a question. One is, I really like the trajectory of the local immigration partnership. It started as a kind of an incubator with the human development at the nonprofit level. And I remember that the city was saying, well, give it to us, because as a municipality, we experience a lot of what the local immigration partnership is trying to solve. So it was ported from HDC to the city. And then the evolution of that is, well, the city's not the only player in this. And the city said, well, let's make it regional. So that Envision St. John now holds it. So I think it's like a story to tell about how we see local immigration partnership and our need to support newcomers, is that it is really something that is regional but also really impacts the local governments. The question I have for you, Danielle, is one of the pillars was around this connectivity between newcomers and existing residents. And I think this is something that's top of mind for local governments. I've seen many local governments come up with really creative ways to do that. I think we recently just had a fair in Rossay, I believe it was, and went really, really well, among others. But this might be something that would really show real value to our local governments if there's funding that you could identify and access to further that story. So whether it's events happening now, what's the next step that communities can do? And then let's also acknowledge that different communities are at different phases of this awareness, where like maybe a rural district might not have the same level of programming that a government who's embedded themselves into this becoming a welcoming community. So they might not be at phase 3 of this, but it'd be excellent to find funding is what I'm getting at, to try to get the local governments to innovate and say, come up with maybe new ideas and here's some incentive for you to do that. So if you could sniff out some funds for the local governments, I think I've already seen a willingness, and that's why I think if you could help identify it, that would be cool.
And even the same, our own resources, like in this area, we've started this year with a inclusivity campaign. I don't know if you guys have seen our region, our home out there. The stories are from all over the region, but we recognize that for phase 2, we need to be more intentional of how can the municipalities make use of these stories so they can also own them. So part of the phase 2 of the campaign will be engaging with the comms teams of the different municipalities, but also targeting specific profiles from your municipalities to showcase how newcomers live in our region. Like it's not just about the city and the folks working here in uptown, but it's also about entrepreneurs or people who choose other kinds of lifestyle that we have. And I remember last week or 2 weeks ago, I think last week we were in Hampton, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I was saying that for me it's great to have this variety of offering, because when we talk to people and we're trying to promote a region, it's great to have this offering. Like you can even live here in the city, or you can live in Hampton or on Grand Bay with a total different lifestyles, but everything interconnected. So, but definitely I'll put it on my radar field and look into if there is any funding there available and how can we support through the LEAP more municipalities.
All right, that's good. Yeah. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Thank you.
I'd entertain a
Receive
motion.
and file.
Receive and file from John, seconder.
Sure.
Brittany, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. What's the next one? Is committee agendas?
Receive and file.
Just to receive and file, yes.
Yeah.
Motion to receive and file, John?
Yeah.
Move.
Second by Nancy. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Yep. Yeah, we'll go with correspondence. All right, under correspondence, CEO update email. Receive and file it, and the review of the state regional service delivery model memo. We can receive
And file both if you
Both?
like.
Yeah, Nancy's doing it.
Nancy, you want to receive and file
Yep.
both those correspondence? or-
Yep.
I just have a question on
Okay,
one.
okay.
Sorry, I hate to be a pain in the butt, but I just wanted to flag that under the review of the Regional Services Delivery Model Letter from the Minister, it also indicates that it's an independent review of the rural district model. So that could have impact not just on the rural district, but if there is a decision made to municipalize or amalgamate further, that is something I think that we should be aware of and awake to.
Excellent. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good catch.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. So we got three.
New business, none presented.
Yep.
And then moved from closed, we have 3 different items. So I'm going to put this in as item number 9, and it will be 9.1, which is the conflict of interest disclosure, 9.2, the special project agreement, and 9.3, the YSJ board nomination. Up to you if you want to break it out or do it all in one.
Move all three.
I'll
Moved by
second.
John, second by Brittany. Question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. That's quick. All right, and for motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconder? Jim. All right, thank you all.
Motion to-
Thanks.